Outside, palms rustled, and the breakers glistened in the moonlight. The beach was literally right outside, like a romantic backdrop to this lover's stage. She still had not moved. Her back was straight, rigid. Could it be that she was more nervous, more terrified than me? This was her idea. This is what she wanted. Who am I kidding? This is what I wanted too. More than blood, I needed this. I thirsted for her body. Startled by the force of my desire, I beat a hasty retreat. "I'll go get the luggage." I didn't return immediately. I needed to calm down. "Control," I yelled at myself. I wrapped mental bands of iron around my pulsing need, forcing it into submission with every ounce of my strength. Tonight was for Bella. I had made a vow to her, and there she stood as my wife. She had kept her part of the bargain, and I would keep mine. But I couldn't lose control, not with her so small and fragile. I had waited over 100 years to experience this last rite of passage into manhood. Surely I could contain my base urges for a few short weeks, at least long enough for me to change Bella. And then I inhaled the humid air once, twice. I had made my decision. I was resolved that I would give Bella what she wanted so badly tonight, this last human experience. But I would have to wait to take my pleasure. I can wait. I will wait. The sound of Bella's hesitant footsteps in the far room brought me back to the moment. She paused again. In a few quick steps, I was at the door of our marital suite. I placed my suitcase on the floor and hers on the dresser. She didn't even register my presence. My heart ached as I watched her stroking the white mosquito netting with her delicate fingers. Her hair hung in damp, heavy strands from the tangled knot at the nape of her neck. A single drop of perspiration trickled down her neck, and I stepped quickly to her side, wiping it away with a caress. "It's a little hot here," I apologized. "I thought that would be best." I remembered the thick afghan that always inhibited our embraces. Was I wrong? Was this too much? "Thorough," she murmured, a single word under her breath. I chuckled in response, but the suspense was killing me. "I tried to think of everything that would make this easier," I confessed. Easier. Love was not supposed to be this hard. She swallowed audibly. The tension in her throat made me quiver with contrasting waves of desire and frustration. I had to break this emotional stalemate. A sudden inspiration offered a potential release for both of us. "I was wondering if," I began slowly, trying to read her reaction. "First, maybe you'd like to take a midnight swim with me." Did I imagine the instant relief in the set of her shoulders? I took a deep breath, more confident in my idea. "The water will be warm. This is the kind of beach you approve of." I smiled as I thought of the frigid waters of the northern Pacific. No, she definitely wouldn't like that. Cold and wet. That biology lesson seemed like a lifetime ago. "Sounds nice." Her voice broke, whether from nerves or something else. "I'm sure you'd like a human minute or two. It was a long journey." I offered her privacy and a chance to collect herself. She nodded a little stiffly. Unable to resist teasing her, I brushed my lips against her neck. "Don't take too long, Mrs. Cullen," I said with a small laugh. I really hoped she would follow me quickly. Anticipation sparked inside me. I kissed her shoulder lightly, a temporary farewell. "I'll wait for you in the water." I shed my shirt before I had even escaped the heat of the room, exiting through the French doors that led directly to the moonlit beach. I heard Bella's stumbling steps as she retrieved her toiletries from the suitcase I had set on the low white dresser. 4 long strides brought me to the water's edge. I stepped out of my slacks and boxer shorts, leaving them draped over a small twisted palm. I dove effortlessly into the swirling waters, feeling the freedom and weightlessness of floating in the gentle surf. I exhaled and sank to the bottom. Moonlight shone through the water, illuminating eddies and sea foam that patterned the surface. No creature swam close to me. Their instinct sent them fleeing for cover at the presence of such a highly evolved predator. Bella obviously did not possess these same instincts. I would have sighed if my lungs were not completely devoid of air. Sounds enveloped me. This was a whole other world beneath the water. Grains of sand ground against one another, constantly shifting in the viscous environment. The surf rumbled and crashed above me. Far off, several hearts beat in time with one another, interspersed with sporadic splashes and sharp sounds like air being expelled from bellows. Dolphins? Bella would love to see them, but they were rapidly pulling away, perhaps alerted by my presence in their territory. With a push off the bottom, I rose to the surface. I stood with my back to the island, my hands resting on the surface of the water, feeling the ebb and flow of the waves. Such power, in something so subtle, I mused. I tilted my head back, regarding the moon with a pensive gaze. It was easy to be quiet here. Despite the constant sound of the wind and ocean, it was strangely silent. No voices or thoughts crowded my head, no droning cacophony interrupted my consciousness. Bella and I were the only people for miles, and I was, for once, completely alone in my mind. Now that I was above the waves, I could hear the thrumming of Bella's heartbeat. That sound was, in many ways, the center of my universe. My stomach clenched uncomfortably as I thought how those beats were numbered. I reminded myself, this is what she wants. I found myself counting those beats. It was odd how they wouldn't stay steady. Sometimes they raced as if Bella were sprinting. I imagined the amount of adrenaline that must be coursing through her veins. Fight or flight. Is this how she feels about making love with me? I am a threat. My former feeling of tranquility was fading in the face of insecurity and concern. The minutes stepped by at a pantantic pace. Of course I was a threat. I was a selfish monster for dangling her life on the fragile thread of my self-control. She must have been in the shower earlier, because now there was a new clarity to the sounds carrying down to me from the house. There, her heart was racing again, and I cursed the impotence I felt while hidden from her thoughts. Maybe she would not be joining me after all. Maybe she finally understood the gravity and danger of what we were trying to do. Part of me was relieved and thankful for this possibility, but deep inside, a dormant beast began to unwind, stretching and growling, encouraging other thoughts. Lust and desire versus adoration and love. The conflict was excruciating. Somewhere behind me, soft footsteps approached. I heard the hiss of heavy fabric slipping over bare skin. I kept my eyes glued to the moon. Every muscle in my body screamed for me to turn around and watch her approach. Those thick bands of iron I had forcefully welded into place held, barely. I breathed a prayer for strength as her scent washed over me. A warm hand rested over mine. I was no longer alone.